Hey guys, if you haven't watched any of them, please watch this one. Bernie Mauricia is a good friend. He and Robbie have founded a company called Oncology and Kids. It's for pediatric cancer. They do camps, they do all kinds of things. Ultimately, putting a smile on a kid's face who has a deal with cancer is their goal. Please watch this one. It's a great one, and I am going to ask something of you guys after it's all over.
Called Oak on the Mic.
Hmm.
And so it's going to be kid driven. So we're going to have our kids try and interview people on like a Saturday morning. So we we already bought this site called was it Juice and Donuts. And
Nice, dude.
so
That's
yeah,
great.
we're like, shoot, man, let's get us a juice sponsor and a donut sponsor, and then just start asking people like, hey, man, who doesn't want to get interviewed by a 10-year-old cancer
Dude, that
survivor?
is such a great idea, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I got to write this down so I can like make sure juice and donuts and promote that one. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. I know you're super busy, but I actually really wanted to get this one going because I think it's going to be super important. Not that I have a
Yeah.
ton of people out there following anything I do, but even if we can help one person, we're doing a great job, right?
Yep.
So, I want you to, if you could tell us a little bit about who you are. I'll tell everybody real quick. I've known Bernie a long time. One of the best people I think I've ever met. I love being around him. He has great energy. And, I will hand it off to you and you can kind of give us an idea who you are and what it is you're doing.
Hey man, well first I want to thank you for having me and Oak on, and I've known Jamie and Sherry and the kids, I mean, for years. I mean, we go way back, and you hit it on the head. Like sometimes you just meet good people in life, and that makes a difference because it lifts us all up. And
Hmm.
so my name's Bernard. Most people call me Bernie. I'm CEO of Oncology and Kids. So we're a nonprofit here based in San Diego that does quality of life programs for kids battling cancer and their siblings. Specifically, we run a program called Camp Reach for the Sky, which is a free camp for kids that are in treatment, their siblings, or bereaved families. So it's a way of just allowing kids to just be kids again and to get the weight of cancer off their shoulders for a little bit and just feel like themselves for a bit. So that's something that's been around since 1983. We're a new nonprofit, so we actually started at the end of 2019, and 2020 was our first year in business, sort of taking the program over. But the three of us volunteers who took it over and started Oak have been volunteers for camp for 25 plus years. So we've got a deep background. We're volunteer driven. We handle about 500 kids a year. And with everything that's going on with COVID, we've had to really sort of switch things up. So we've had to switch all of our in-person camps into virtual camp, which quite honestly has been kind of fun. It's been challenging as well, but it's forced us out of our comfort zone and to
Hmm.
find different ways of just, cancer doesn't stop. So especially for pediatric cancer, kids still want to be kids, so we have to find ways to make sure that we're able to build those peer support programs and networks for them regardless of what's going on.
Yeah. No, man, you and I've talked about it. It's been a bit challenging. And I thought that the camp you did with the athletes that one was really cool. I know it was a
Oh
good time for
man,
you, man. It was a lot of
yeah.
fun.
Hey, big ups to Jamie on that one. He helped Donnie and the whole crew. I mean, we had Hall of Famers on there like Rock
Yeah.
Waves. We had James Shields, who's been a big supporter of ours. Like it was just fun to have a conversation because kids miss baseball. They weren't able to do little
Hmm.
league. So, when you see a problem like that, and I think that's where all of us come from, either we sit there and sort of, kick our feet in the sand, or we come up with solutions. And in our case, the question was, okay, well, if we're not able to do the baseball lunch, maybe we can bring the baseball lunch to us. So maybe
Hmm.
we can have a conversation. Just being able to have that little conversation, we still get hit up by our parents and the kids who talk about how much fun they had just being able to talk to former players about baseball and just
Yeah.
how much they missed it and things that they went through and the experience. And that's what life's about, like just being able to connect on those levels when you're going through some rough times.
And in a way, I guess you could take a positive outside of what it did for the kids and everything else. But another positive is some of those players you wouldn't have even had there because they probably wouldn't have made it. So you had, Tim, who was here in Phoenix, probably wouldn't have made it to San Diego for a camp. But
Yeah.
because, we were in the position, that we're in, you're able to get a Hall of Famer on a camp, talking to kids, which may not have happened, in quote unquote regular times.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we invite baseball players out to baseball lunch every single
Mm-hmm.
year. Usually we'll get one. Every once in a while we get a couple that come out and just hang out and they'll sign autographs and stuff. But this is the first year we were able to just put it out there and say, look, this is what we've got. We got a bunch of kids who just want to talk baseball, and to be able to be anywhere in the world and for people to dial in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had a full lineup. I mean, we had
Yeah.
10 players. That's just legit to be able to sit there and have that much fun. And after that conversation, I mean, we had so many of the players who came back afterwards and said, hey, we're in for next year. You let us know
Right.
what you need. And that, I think, for us as an organization is critical, of being able to open people's eyes to what kind of programs are out there and
Mm-hmm.
things that exist that 9 times out of 10 they wouldn't know. We're one of those best kept secrets, and it's time to change that. So
Yep.
little things like that gave us the opportunity to really get in front of people that, even though we have 6 degrees of separation of them, it's the first time we were able to put them all together and say, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that can come out of this whole thing that will be a positive, and and anytime that we can help out kids that have cancer, and something like that, if we get out of the pandemic, and there's a positive that's coming out of it, it's the fact that people like you are getting in front of people like them that maybe you didn't have a chance to.
Yeah, I agree. I love it.
So you and I have talked about previously where you were before. So what without being without it being a sore subject, what changed for you and Robbie? And for those of you, I know his one of his co-founders real well, Robbie, and what changed for you guys? How did you guys decide you were going to kind of do this yourselves?
Yeah, I think, we had thought about it for a while. I think this was the first time that everything came together. It's been there have only been 3 groups that have looked over this camp program. That's the American Cancer Society, the Shawnee Foundation, and now
Mm-hmm.
Onkology and Kids. And there just came a point where, for people that have been tied to it for so long, where it was an opportunity for us to finally have it. It's overwhelming, and it's a bit intimidating not to have a support, sort of that safety net.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, you come to that point where we're like, no, we're ready to invest in us. Like, we think we've got this. We think we've got the community. We think we're built to really see this thing through. And that was really a defining factor for us, of being able to take it over and know that, you're talking about Robbie, who went through the camps himself as a kid, like when we were in high school.
Right.
So to have that level of expertise of people already doing it, who have been through it, and then mixing it with the talent that we already had and all these different facets, it was just the right time. And yeah, people will always, we kind of crack up, because, like, it's how you write it up in the business plan, starting a new nonprofit during a global pandemic. Honestly, it forces you to hone your tools so much better, because you have to. I mean, we've got to be very nimble. We're having more fun now, just being able to go after every lot of dream and aspect that we had over the years, and put them into motion, and put people to task of, like, hey, we've talked about this for years. This is what we're trying to get done. This is how we need to get it done. And we need time, treasure, or talent. One of the 3. And then asking people like you, and asking, that's the part, like, when it's so concrete and so simple, like, Jamie, I need this. Can you help me get this done? So I don't need 15,000 other things. I need this one
just
thing.
one thing. Yeah.
And that, I think that allows people to have so much more of a focused ability to look at something and say, oh, I can definitely help you with that. Give me a couple of days and I got you.
Yeah.
And especially when they know it's for the kids, then it's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Total game changer. All right. So let's talk a little bit about you and just as a business person, and you're an entrepreneur, right? You've started your own company, you guys, and did a mindset shift happen for you to get to a business standpoint where you were going to leave your quote unquote 9 to 5, and
oh yeah,
what changed for you?
It wasn't anything that was done lightly. I mean, Robbie and myself actually, both of us are married. Chopper, of the 3 founders, has his own full-time job, and then helps with this. But Robbie and I, we had to tell our wives, and so we basically made a pitch to our wives, as though we were
right, yeah,
as though we were pitching like big investors. And so we had like our budget, and we had all these things, because at the end of the day, we knew, hey, if we don't have buy-in of our family, then we really can't do this. There's no,
you got to have that support, man.
Yeah, we can have all the good feels known to mankind, but if we don't actually have a legitimate strategic plan as to how we're viewing this thing and what we're going to do, then it's a moot point. So we made a pitch to both of our wives, and they looked at it and they asked us a ton of questions, because they knew, hey, you guys are giving up a lot.
Sure.
do you guys have your stuff together to figure this out? And so I think us being able to show them, hey, we're looking at, it's the marathon, not the sprint.
Hmm.
This is what we're looking at doing. This is how we feel we can do it. This is how we're going to hit these milestones on the fundraising and all these things.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think,
Hold on a second,
yeah,
buddy. Taylor, let me close the door. Sherry just left her in here. Man, she's getting so old she barks at everything, and that was just
right.
Sherry. That was just Sherry in the house.
Oh man, that's
All
like
right.
Robbie's dogs, man.
All right, so we're pitching the wives and
Yeah. So pitching the wives, there's probably no more
easier than pitching an investor.
right? Yeah, I'll take an investor or somebody else any day of the week. When you're sitting there and your significant other is staring at you like, what? You better what is the deal here? Then you better have your stuff together. And
For sure.
and I love the fact that they saw the vision. They've been I mean, both of our wives have been volunteers as well, so they see sort of where it is, and they understand what our commitment is to Oak and to camp, and so that's a big deal. And so on this entrepreneur side, yeah, you have to shift your mindset in a lot of different ways, because you have to work on a bootstrap budget because you're trying to make things happen, but you have to have an idea of how you're going to get there, the friends, the family, who can we pull in, what stuff can we get done, pro bono. I mean, this first year we've done so much. And like I said to my point earlier, like asking people that we hadn't really asked for stuff before, but this time we're like, hey, look, I need this. You're gonna end up having to donate to me probably about $25,000 worth of service, but I promise you, like, we're gonna keep this thing going. Like, it'll be well worth it.
Yeah.
And to know that people were just all in, just like, oh yeah, for what we're talking about, yeah, we're all in. Like, this is fine, because they knew it was for all the right reasons. And most of the people that we were talking to had been entrepreneurs themselves, so they've been there. Like, they've started those companies. So we had so many people, especially produce is a great example. Bob Harrington, who's the CEO over there, we go and meet with him through a connection of a connection, which is what we love. It's the first time he'd heard about us, and we're going through this thing, and especially produce provides all the food and produce for all the restaurants in the region here, so they're a big deal. And he heard our story, and he's like, yeah, I love this. He's like, it's basically you're two entrepreneurs trying to get this thing going. It's like, I know for a fact you guys need capital, you guys need a plan to figure out how you're going to have recurring and monthly giving. And so he jumped in. His company was like, we'll start in monthly giving. The whole company will do monthly giving for a full year. So
that's
doing
awesome,
things
man.
like that, he's like, we'll work out, maybe we can do some point of sale, maybe we can do some have you guys produce some videos, and we'll show them at the checkout counter. So to then be able to connect with people who have been there and done it, and to know that they understand what our struggles are going to be, both short-term and long-term, and to be able to really dive in. And now we know, like, if we need something, we call them, we're like, Bob, hey, we're running into trouble here. Like, what do you do when you see this start to come up, or when you're so close to, we're really close to pushing this edge, how do we get from this point to this point? That's really a fun thing to get to that.
So yeah, one, it's it's doing something that's great for the kids. It's almost like a mentorship also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, which one of us doesn't need that, where we can call somebody and say, hey, this is my issue. How would, can you help me get there? Yeah. So you're helping out the program, but you're also gaining, knowledge from somebody that's been there before.
Yep, which exactly
is awesome, right? I mean, you can't ask for any more than that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. And I think for us to continue, that's where our goal is. If we continue to show them that, hey, we're pushing forward, the way we need to be, and it may be, and we tell ourselves this all the time, slowly but surely, like, let's come up with reasonable goals and things that we can hit, but also, know that, hey, there are going to be some failures built into this. Like, what happened? And the question is, how do we respond to it? When that happens, are we able to pick ourselves up and come up with, and take a strategic look as to what happened? Did we fall off here? Did we not do a good enough job here? Did it actually work to a certain extent, but we just may need to tweak some things, and then bounce it off more people for input and insight, so that we're constantly showing them that, hey, we're constantly trying to evolve and train and teach ourselves how to do this the best way possible.
I think I asked Michelle this. Have you read The Go-Giver yet?
No, not yet.
Check it out. It's a really cool book, man. It's what you're saying, especially with someone, his name's Bob, and what he's doing is saying, okay, I'm basically going to give back
Mm-hmm.
without the expectation that I may get anything in return. And that's really what the whole book is about, right? Is once you get to a point, give back without expectation,
Yep.
and then receive without, saying, oh, I can't take that.
Yeah.
There's just there's 5 laws that you'll learn going through that book, and it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It's a good book to go through.
And we love it because now we're setting up our own systems to try and take all this expertise. So we're starting this whole program called Oak on the Mic. So we're just getting it off the ground, but we're gonna have it try and be sort of kid driven,
Hmm.
pulling people in like Bob and saying, hey, we want you to not only serve as a mentor, but give insight as to like all the trials and tribulations that go into like being an entrepreneur and building these businesses, and what you see now that you wish you would have known when you were 16 years old and
Hmm.
trying to figure out the world, and just opening up those conversations, because anyone can do it. Like right now, what COVID has taught us is the fact that even though we're all sort of stuck at home and in these different environments, it does provide enough opportunity to really jump into some things that may be well outside of our comfort zones. But the deeper we get into it, the more opportunities we see of like, hey,
Yeah.
this actually is a new way of providing some service, or
Hmm.
or me training myself to understand a new aspect of something else that I
Yeah.
want to learn.
Yeah, like we said it already once, or probably twice, but there's just so many opportunities that are going to come out of this. Yeah, it's a terrible thing that we're all going through, but it's what we're going to do to come out of what we're going to look like on the other end. That's going to,
Yeah.
really determine, what kind of businesses we have and who we are as entrepreneurs. And in your case, you said it, you're going through things that you didn't anticipate when you started this, but it's making you figure things out, man. I mean, it's all
Yeah.
about pivoting right now and doing what works. And when you're on the other end, you're going to have all this stuff that you didn't know on top of the stuff that you did. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a really, really good opportunity. One
Yeah.
thing that
And it's, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing that I'm going to do, I don't care if Donnie knows I'm doing it yet, but I told him I was going to come up to wherever he's coaching this year. So, uh, in the middle of the summertime. So provided everything is going okay in the minor leagues and they actually get a season going,
Yeah.
I will say that if the Juice and Donuts is up and running, I will make sure that the weekend I'm up there, we'll do a thing with him, in the morning or something,
Heck
and
yeah.
get him on and let the kids interview him.
Yep. I love that. Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
Donnie,
great.
you're committed.
That's right. Too late now, buddy. That's pretty much how we do things here at Ogan. It's like, hey, I don't know if I told you, but I told a bunch of other people that you're going to do this, so it's too late for you to back out now. So I'm going to need you to handle this by next week.
Oh man. It's funny is Donnie loves that stuff, so he'll be all about it.
It is. I think that's I think what we're just learning a lot within these past couple of years. I think um, it's very difficult for us to break some of our sort of societal norms that we're used to, especially when you're on the entrepreneur side and you're driven to sort of build these things.
Hmm.
There's a level of perfectionism, and there's, to a certain extent, like all that has to go out the door. Like it's not about it being perfect. It's about, hey, can we get it done?
Yep. Yep.
And so that really takes us sort of being nice to ourselves and
Hmm.
understanding like, hey, okay, well, let me get it here. I my vision is for it to be this and this, and so spick and span clean. But it's like, hey, let's at the end of the day, like let's move it forward so that we're constantly pushing the needle a little bit forward.
So you and I are, what, I think I'm a year older than you probably,
Hmm.
and so as we get older, we forget things.
Yeah.
So what does Bernie do to stay focused on tasks and, and make sure that
You
you're not
know,
getting
that's a great question. Like I am, and you talk about like the skills that we've had. It's all about know thyself. Like,
it?
a true reflection in the mirror. Like, what am I good at? What am I not so good
Right.
at? That's why I love, working with Robbie and Brian, because the three of us have three different sort of
Yeah.
personality. We're vision driven. We're at the same stages, and we know exactly what we want. But the way that we work things completely different, and it's
Hmm.
great because it allows us to fill our gaps and then help us learn
Yeah.
new things. It's like, oh man, I really should be that. And um for me, in terms of keeping sort of it all at bay and in some sort of consumable way, like I've had to force myself to learn some of these new programs like yeah, Asana, and be better at like, okay, if we're going to do a Google sheet, well, what's the accountability? Like, how do I know when I'm checking in and getting this thing done? And how am I keeping myself accountable? And then how do we have enough check-ins with our team to know that, hey, where are we on something? Like we
Mhm.
said, we were going to be here, here, and here. Are we close? Are we not close? We are so volunteer driven. Pretty much all of us are volunteers.
Mhm.
And you're talking about 200 plus people. We have so much broad depth of experience that it's kind of fun to jump on a lot of the calls with our leadership volunteers, because the way things go from 0 to 60 is so
Yeah.
quick, and then you see plans get put into motion, and so you kind of throws you off because you're like, how is all this going to get done? But
Mhm.
then you start seeing where people's strengths are, just like, oh, that person, the person that knows how to follow up and get boom, boom, boom done. This person is the visionary that looks at the whole thing, is like, oh, I think we can get here. And then who are the people that are willing to go out, make those asks, and do these
Yeah.
things? I'm definitely more on the, put me in front of a crowd, let me talk to people about what we're doing and how we're doing it. Cool. On the
Yeah.
back end side, man, coordinating all of it and trying to keep it all together, they're just other people. So I try and find, colleagues and friends that are just a lot better at that can
Mhm.
teach me, little tricks of the trade. It's like, hey, how do you keep all this stuff together with little systems? Because then at least that way I'm not overwhelming myself with like, oh man, well, now I can't do any of them right now.
Yeah.
At least it's just a little piece where I'm like, oh yeah, that
Right.
makes a lot more sense, and I can put that into practice.
Have you, in this, some of these things I won't put in there. I just ask you,
Mhm.
off. But have you read Rocket Fuel?
Yes.
I mean, you said visionary, so I'm like, well, he's read. He's got to have read Rocket Fuel already, because
Yeah.
I mean, you're truly the, you have your visionary, or you're the
Yeah.
visionary. You can see where you want to go. You got
Yeah.
to have the integrator, right, to,
Exactly.
to get you there, right? And
Exactly.
I have that same issue. Think of a lot of things and go, man, I would love to go do that, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
you
And I
know,
mean, and that's the thing. I think, for the two of us, and for people that are like us personality wise, like that's why it's fun to surround ourselves with people that are just, I always surround myself in a room of people that are a hell of a lot smarter than I am,
Right.
because at the end of the day, I know what I'm good at and I know what I
Mhm.
can talk about and get into. But if I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that are much smarter than I am, that just know how to get all these things done,
Yeah.
great, because it makes us all stronger. And it may be, that may not be their strengths, which is sweet, because then I can take over that part and they can really drive home like, okay,
Hmm.
this is how we're going to implement it and execute. Because that's, there's that fine balance between ideas and then implementation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, man, I mean, this whole thing should be more about the kids than what we can do.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to do, and this one, you know what, I kind of like the way this is working out, because it's not going to be nearly as long as any of the other ones.
Mhm.
And no, and it's a good thing, because I
Yeah.
think it's more to the point than, a lot of the interviews have kind of just, we get into conversation that are off track a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is more about, let's have a great conversation with someone who's a great leader, but on top of that, let's see what we can do to help the organization. So what I want to do after, once I publish this, I'm going to see if I can get on. I mean, I don't have that many followers on Instagram, but I will see if I can get on and see what kind of donations I can get from those followers. And hopefully within a week, we're sending you a check.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it's going to be. It might be $100, but
Hey man, you know what? And
something.
that's what I tell people all the time. $100. You know how many marshmallows that takes care of at our marshmallow factory day camp?
I
And
bet.
that's the thing. Like, if people only knew, like, hey, it's not we tell people all the time. So right now, our big push is, and this is part of our business strategy. So right now, our big push is monthly giving. And I don't care if someone gives $1 a month, if they get $5 a month, if they get
Mhm.
$100 a month, whatever they can do. Because at the end of the day, the idea behind set it and forget it, everyone who's ever been an entrepreneur understands there's the value to like the one-off gifts that help you get from one stage to the next.
Mhm.
But the question, that's why subscription models are out there. The recurring revenue of having something over and over that gives you the flexibility to be able to truly grow organically and to
Yeah.
strategically look at something and say, man, if we get to this point, knowing that we have X amount coming in on a monthly basis, we'll be able to jump in that a lot quicker. I mean, think about this. So for a group like ours at small scale, if we had 500 people giving $20 a month, that's what, 10,000 a month, 120K a year. 120K a year essentially takes care of the vast majority of like our big week-long camps.
Mhm.
It could do 5 weekend camps. Like, it gives you so much flexibility and ability to jump deeper in, because our goal is to make sure that we're that wraparound service,
Right.
so that it's not just the week of camp, it's basically the week of camp plus our monthly check-in. So we have a junior council, so we check in with them every 2 weeks. On the mental health side, it's like, how are you guys holding up? What do you
Yep.
guys want to do? And then in our business, we're trying to make sure that our kids take over. Like we've set this thing up so that our kids can essentially really run this thing. Like 9 times out of 10, get the adults out of the way. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. We get
know,
in our own way, right?
exactly. Like, and so we have so much fun just sitting there talking to our kids about what ideas they've got. I mean, our kids run our social media. Our kids are about to kick off. They're going to start running our merchandise. So they're coming up with designs and a system and a process as to how they're
That's
going to
great,
come up
man.
with it. Like we've got the whole idea of some of the interview stuff. It's kid driven, so that it's the kids really being the face of it. Because who wants to see this salt and pepper face on a regular basis? Like nobody. But you got a 10, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got some 10-year-old who's really driven, who wants to do some things, or a kid who's just in high school. I mean, that's what we're setting this up for. It's everything that we do is to prep this for the next generation, whether it's our kids or the kids that we have in our programs. And I think that's a big part of what we can offer, even as support, is making sure people understand, hey, we're not funding this just for today. We're funding this for 10 years from now, for a kid who starts in our program at 4 years old. Like,
Yeah.
are we
It's
taking care of
super
this
cool,
kid?
man. No, you're doing that's so cool, man. I wish, honestly, I wish I was a person that had that kind of vision. I mean, it's so cool that you guys can put that, see what you want to do, something like that's going to help somebody, and put it down into a business and create,
Oh,
something
but
for
you do have
kids
that
to,
vision. You know what
yeah, but
impresses me about you? Like you guys have now taken all this background that you have in the airline industry and everything else, and then you pivoted and started doing things like the revamps on home. 9 times out of 10, most people wouldn't jump into that because they don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
right.
It takes a different level of ability and confidence and understanding of like, okay, well, I'm going to teach myself XYZ. I need to know these things.
Mhm.
Because you know what it's going to take to get from this point to this point,
Yeah.
and this is where you want to be. But to be able to build those skills and then constantly sort of look at it and tweak things, because that's what you guys have to do on a regular
Yeah.
basis. Ooh, this worked this time, but I don't know about this next time, or maybe we can tighten up this process here, where by the time you're done with it. I mean, that's how empires are built. I
Mm.
mean, let's be real. That is what, people whose names are on buildings, that's what they've done for a long time. Like it's the generational wealth building
Yeah.
of the US as a whole, and just globally, global economics. And
Mhm.
those are the things, like, and it's half teaching yourself and half just being willing to jump in.
Yeah, and fail and learn and fail
Hmm.
and learn and fail
Yeah.
and learn.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
No, so I want to know, can you let everybody know kind of right now where everybody can find OAK?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to look up www.oncologyandkids.org. That'll have all of our information in terms of who we are, what we do, the camp programs. And first and foremost, look, we're mission driven. If you come in contact with a family that needs our services or resources, even though we're based in San Diego, remember, we used to work at the American Cancer. We've got ties all over. So if we know of a camp that's in that area, locally, like, our programs are all free. So if you find a family that's got a kid that's going through treatment and they want to come out to camp, as long as they can get out here to San Diego, we take care of everything else.
Awesome.
Because cancer's expensive as is.
Hmm.
We shouldn't add an additional burden to people. So them being able to find their peer support network there is what's really sort of core importance to us. So economics should never play a part in that. Within our website, you'll see information on how to volunteer, how to give. Like we mentioned before, things like monthly giving. A lot of times people lose sight of the fact that, it's not the all at once. Sometimes it's just like, hey, you know what? I'd love to donate a coffee a month that I know I'm going to get at Starbucks to a group like yours that I know is going to put it to use. Hey,
Awesome.
great. We'll take it. And then, and if if you really look at us as a whole, like we tell people this all the time, that's our main thing. When we're looking at folks and how they want to help, it comes down to time, treasure, talent. Find one.
Yeah.
Find one of those pillars that you're just like, oh yeah, I can do this, because it's going to differ for everyone. Pick one of those, let us know, and then we'll find something to get you behind.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And what do we got coming up this year?
So this year we've already made, so July 12th to the 17th is going to be our virtual camp Reach for the Sky. That is open to every family that has a child in treatment, or that has siblings, that is bereaved. It also is for kids that have a parent that's in cancer treatment, or families that have lost a child or a parent. So it's open to all of our sessions. If you can sign up on our website, and then what we'll do is we'll send you all the confirmation information. It'll be through Zoom, but I mean, it is going to be power packed, just like last year. Last year we had hundreds of hours of pre-recorded content. I mean, we did things like cooking classes with very well-known chefs.
Nice.
We did movie spoofs with a bunch of our volunteers. We're actually reaching out to some folks we know in Hollywood to see if we can work with some of their actors to do sort of some combined movie spoofs. We did the baseball lunch. We did the mud bowl. We did a camp dance where we had a DJ from one of our radio stations here in San Diego. We had the 501st Legion. They're the ones who go to Comic-Con every year dressed up as the Star Wars characters.
Hmm.
We had like 25 characters log into our dance. I mean, it was
That's awesome.
yeah, and we also had breakout rooms. So once we got into the afternoon and evening breakout rooms, the kids are broken up into their age groups with our volunteers, where they just have a lot of fun. They did scavenger hunts, they did game night, they did movie nights, everything you can think of that you would never think that you'd be able to do online. Somehow, because of our volunteers, we were able to pull that off. And so now it's year 2 of this, and we're going to blow it out of the water.
Yep.
So
Yep. And
we're stoked.
one of the things that you and I talk about, sometimes we just talk on the phone and all of a sudden an idea comes up and you're like, oh, Jamie, I love where this is going, or we just did it, a week and a half ago. Can our ideas or something, can
Always.
people send you ideas and say, hey, this might be a way of going about it,
Yep.
what, and do they just go through the website to do that
Just go
too?
through the website, you'll see our contact info, and it'll either go to admin@onkologyandkids.org, or send it to me, Mauricia@onkologyandkids.org. And what we do is we keep all those ideas in sort of a big, long Google sheet. And so what we'll do is we'll go through all of them. We're like, oh, yeah, we like that one. And that's the fun part, because we get to sit there, and then we'll contact people all the time, just like, hey, you had this idea. Can you explain to us a little bit more, like what you were thinking?
Hmm.
And it gives us a better idea of where they were going. And then usually, we always tell people it's usually within 6 degrees of separation where we're able to
Yeah.
put it in front of somebody that, hey, it's okay. We're cool if we get a no. I
Mm.
mean, we probably weren't going to get it in the first place, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So we're much more comfortable sitting there being able to throw something in front of someone's face and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And if we get, I mean, that was the baseball lunch. That was you be like, Jamie, hey man, so this is the idea. What do you think? And you coming back and be like, give me a day. Let me call my buddy. Let me pitch this idea. And that's what it was. You came back. You're like, he's all in. And next thing we know, we got him. We've got a whole field of people, and that's the magic of when community comes together for a
Yep.
common cause and a bond. Because you feel good.
Hmm.
Everyone feels good being able to know that they were able to help push something. To like, oh man, I was able to help make that happen.
Yep.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and on top of that, put a smile on somebody's face, a kid's
Yep.
face for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate. Actually, I have goosebumps from this conversation. To be honest with you, it's my pleasure to have you on. Would love to do this again at some
Anytime, man.
point, and
Let's bring some kids on. Yeah.
yeah, let's get some kids on, and we'll figure out an idea that's going to make it work for the kids, and just have a good time with it.
That's right. I like it, man. Well,
All right.
thank you guys for the time, man. I appreciate you, all that you and the fam have put into really everything, and everyone who's listening. Hey, man, everyone makes a difference. So thanks again for taking that time. If you see a way that you want to jump in and get involved, jump in. That's what makes this world a better place. It's just people really taking it upon themselves to make this world a better place.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, man.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you soon. I really hope you guys enjoyed that one. I can't wait to do it again, to be honest with you. Um, they're doing great things. They've had to pivot, along with other businesses, they've had to make adjustments during the pandemic just to make sure that they get a smile on kids' face. They've done great work. I know I'm going to do what I can to help out. I hope you will too. Have a good one, and we will talk to you soon. No likes, no dislikes, no subscribe on this one, because that's not what's important today.